What's my line? That's the question to be asked tonight by this man. Could you spot his occupation? Here's another challenger who'll face the panel during the next half hour. What do you think she does for a living? And this man, do you think you could tell us what his job is? Yes, these are three of the actual people who join us tonight to play television's gayest game, What's My Line? Jules Montagne Incorporated, makers of fine cosmetics, makers of Stop-It, America's #1 spray deodorant. The deodorant in the famous flexi-plastic bottle. The deodorant whose delightful ease of application has changed a nation's habits. The deodorant you apply like this. Poof. There goes perspiration. Now I invite you to meet our What's My Line panel of well-known personalities whose lines you already know. First, the popular actress and television personality, Miss Betty Furness.
And on my left, the noted American poet, Mr. Louis Untermeyer.
Thank you, Betty. And on my left, that charming actress, that ever-loving television's gift for the new year, Arlene France.
And on my left, our guest panelist tonight, the star of his own TV show on CBS every afternoon, and we're so happy to have him, Mr. Garry Moore.
I have to introduce him?
Uh-huh.
Well, this is one of my favorite people, as a matter of fact. He and I are fellow commuters from the community of Rye out in Westchester. This is Mr. John Daly.
Thank you. Thank you, Garry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line, presented by Stop-It. Once again tonight, we're going to put our cameras close up on a few people from some varied, perhaps unexpected occupations. All of them here to give the panel some trouble if they can and carry home some prize money. We'll also have a famous guest challenger before the experts a little bit later in the show. But now to start the proceedings, it's time for the experts to meet our first challenger, whose job they will have to try and spot. So will you sign in, please, sir? David Rhodes. Is that right, sir? Yes, sir. You come over here for me with just a minute. Now, tell us, first of all, where you live.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio. You're a long way up, aren't you? Well, these people over here you probably recognize by sight, but they don't feel they know you well enough. So would you be good enough to walk down in front of the panel for me and let them get a closer look at you?
Mr. Rhodes, can you bend over and touch your toes without bending your knees?
I can try.
Go ahead for New Year's, try. You certainly can. I heard a few things break.
Did you see those socks? Did you see those socks? Opal color.
I want Mr. Rhodes, with all of his magnitude, to do one small samba step. How about a rumba step? Any rumba. Take a rumba from 1 to 10.
All right, Mr. Rhodes.
I would say he really should go in a hurry to see Arthur. What's that man's name?
All right, Mr. Rhodes, you come over here and sit down next to me, and on the basis of your handwriting, what you said, how you said it, the magnificent way you did the samba and the rumba, we're going to give our friends over here on the panel a wild, free, happy guess as to what your line may be. And we'll begin those wild guesses with Miss Furness.
I think he's a basketball player.
A basketball player. Mr. Untermeyer.
No, I think he's a mistletoe picker.
A mistletoe picker. Miss Stratford.
He's a big, stropping fellow. I think he's a barber.
A barber. Mr. Moore. Oh, Miss Stratford.
I have no idea what he does, but I certainly admire his haircut.
Only fair to tell you, Mr. Rhodes, that Mr. Moore used to have a haircut just like yours. Now he's got his own television show on CBS in the afternoon from 1:30 to 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, and he let his hair grow, and one of our newspapers here in New York said it's the best TV show in New York, so maybe you better let yours grow, too. But I'm afraid you're all wrong, in spite of your wit, so we'll let our viewers at home have a really close look at Mr. Rhodes, and at the same time we'll tell them what his line is. But, panel, you've got to dig for facts. You know what the rules are. You ask questions in turn to be answered yes or no. Each no answer will cost the panel $5. We keep a record of it up here. 10 no's, and you have lost the game. We'll give you one more bit of help. Mr. Rhodes is self-employed. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Mr. Untermeyer.
You work for yourself all alone rather than with other people?
Right, isn't it? Yeah. I think,
Very
Mr.
funny question.
Untermeyer, that what we're going to have to do is to give you a no. I think it would be
Oh,
impossible
don't give
for
me a
him
no
to...
like that. Have a heart. It was so oddly phrased. I was just
It
feeling
was
my
oddly
way.
phrased. Well, if you'll admit it was oddly phrased, you go ahead and rephrase it. We'll start all
right.
over again.
Is your work done solus, alone, all by yourself?
Yes.
Oh, I knew that from the beginning. It's obvious. Is your work connected with any of the arts?
No, I...
One down a night ago. I don't think we can call this an art. Miss Francis.
Is your figure, which is big and strong, necessary in your work?
No.
Your power as a man has nothing to do with your job.
Two down, a date to go. Mr. Moore.
This man has a wonderfully self-contained, very complacent expression on his face. Is your occupation an indoor occupation?
3 down and 7 to go. Miss Furness.
I don't know what I said, but I hope it isn't risque.
It isn't, Garry. Go ahead, Miss Furness.
Do you deal in services?
Yes.
Do you wear a uniform in your work?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Does your work require you to move about from place to place? Do you move about under your own power? We're so funny.
Betty,
I
you were
would
so
say
accurate,
that
too.
substantially that question is to be answered yes. I would say you were moving under your own power when you moved, wouldn't you? I certainly
Yes.
would. Yes, go ahead, Miss Furness.
Is there also a product involved connected with the services?
You mean a product which the general purpose of the whole business is to purvey it to the public in some way?
Yes.
4 down and 6 to go. Mr. Untermeyer.
The big laugh that came up when Betty said something about do you project yourself or move under your own power leads me to ask, is that your chief line of work, moving under your own power? No. The audience says no, they know.
I will say that it's a very difficult question to answer, Mr.
I
Untermeyer.
put it that way purposely.
I will say this, that insofar as movement is involved, the movement comes from his power or his presence, his self. So that I think we can give you a qualified yes and you go on.
And you wear some kind of a uniform, costume, apparel, something distinct, something which you're not wearing now. Am
That's
I
right.
And is your work connected with any kind of machine? You use in your work any kind of instrument, implement, machine?
Yes.
Is it something that also goes around with you when you go around?
Partly.
Partly. I think, to be fair, we would say that the machine must be with him to perform his function.
Does it go around in the sense of being round like a wheel? No.
No. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Does your work make people happier? To make people... Does it help people in any way?
Does it help them in any way? I think we've got to say no to that. 6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Moore.
Well, from the gasp that went up the last time when I asked him if he did his work inside, I now gather that he does not. He does it outside.
Very good, Mr. Moore.
That's thinking, isn't it?
Garry, you've nailed him.
Yeah, I sure have. Now then, you wear a uniform. Is this something that you do? You say you deal in services. Is this something that people benefit from by
Osmosis.
no. I'm trying to phrase the question so I won't get a no, you know, one of those nice mushy questions that has no answer to it. He's got to say yes to. You do this work outside. Is it in the field of sports? Say no and yes out in the audience.
I think Mr. Rhodes will agree that it can be very loosely considered in the field of sports. Would you accept that, Mr.
Very
Rhodes?
loosely.
Very loosely. We won't give you a no. You asked a mushy question and you got a mushy answer.
Yeah, I sure did.
Maybe he
Well, then, at least then, you say it's halfway in sports. It must therefore be a public spectacle of some sort?
Yes.
It is a,
Could be.
something like,
May we have a conference?
You may have 20 seconds for a
Something like
conference.
getting shot out
I'm
of a
only going to
I
give
was
you...
just going to say maybe get shot out of a
It'd have to be an awfully big cannon.
that's
no.
it. No, because you see, he said he said that whatever it
Does
is, whatever
use no
uniform,
power.
he takes it with him. So it would have to be something like an underwater swimmer with one of those things on his back.
I ask if it
you
was...
do this completely by yourself, I ask.
Yeah,
The act is performed, that he performs specifically, is done. We haven't said that he has to have a piece of machinery with him. Now,
He
we
does
can
have
go
to
no
have-
further than that.
Is it in any way involved with transportation, a vehicle?
Very loosely, we
Yes.
can call it a vehicle.
He carries it with him when he goes.
got it, Gary.
Listen,
I think I've got it.
Deep sea dive.
No. He wears a uniform. Is the vehicle? I have to ask you. Does it fly?
Yes.
The vehicle flies. It's got to be an airplane.
This will be a saucer.
All right, Gary, you must drive because I'm going to have to cut you off for time pretty soon.
Well, I'll take a wild stab. Are you a parachute jumper?
And I would like personally to add a word. As a reporter, I covered the Cleveland Air Races for 3 years in a row. This is one of the bravest, most gallant gentlemen I've ever met, because he was at the Cleveland Air Races 3 years in a row, and he'll jump from anything, from any height. A wonderful man.
I think he's gallant. I think he's a little nuts, too.
John, would he jump at a conclusion?
Well, he did a couple of times tonight, but I think he did very well. Mr. Rhodes, you've done very well with our prizes, I think. Comparatively speaking, we hope you enjoyed yourself. Thanks for being our guest in What's My Line, and Happy New Year. Good night, sir. All right, now let's see what you can do with the second challenger. Will you sign in, please, ma'am? Gloria Lella, is that right? Right. How do you do, Miss Lella? Will you tell us, first of all, where you live?
New York City.
You live in New York City. Well, these people then are all very familiar to you. They would like to become more familiar with you, particularly Mr. Moore, so watch him. Will you walk down in front of the panel, please?
May we see your hands like this? Thank you.
No rings. Very significant.
No.
Very significant. No
She's
rings.
single.
No
rings
dishpans
under her
either.
eyes, you know.
All right, Miss Lella, will you come over here now and sit down next to me, please? And on the basis of your handwriting, what you said, how you said it, and the close look that the members of the panel have had at you, we're going to give them one wild guess as to what your line may be. We begin the wild guesses, as usual, with Miss Furness.
I think that she's a sales girl in a very exclusive department store.
Mr. Untermeyer.
I think she's a decorator for Decca Records from the cradle to the groove.
Miss Francis.
I think she's a linguist at the United Nations.
A linguist at the United Nations. Mr. Moore.
I think she's lovely.
Nobody is going to gainsay that. However, you have not guessed her line, so we now let our viewers at home have a really close look at Miss Lella. At the same time, we'll tell them what her line is, but you're going to have to work for it, panel. You know the rules. Ask questions in turn to be answered yes or no. Each no answer is going to cost the panel $5. We keep a record of it right up here. 10 no's, and you will have lost the game. We'll give you one more bit of help. Miss Lella is salaried. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Miss Francis.
Are you in any kind of creative work?
We'd love to say yes.
No.
I'm afraid we'll have to say no. 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Moore.
I must ask a bromide here. Do you deal in services?
Yes, I do.
You do deal in services. Are these services that are consumed by the great mass of people, or is it a very specialized? I mean, as opposed to...
Well, the great master. I think 2 down and 8 to go. Miss Furness.
Are your services, do your services apply to both sexes?
I think we'll have to say no to that, too. You think so? You think
No, no.
No, that's right. 3 down and 7 to go. Mr. Untermeyer.
Do your services apply to any sex? Any one of the 3 or 4 that you could think of? I mean, the sex is not the sexes are not excluded.
No, they're not.
You have a favorite
No.
sex.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's leave that for a moment. Let's get more particular. do you wear some kind of a uniform in your work?
Let us say that she wears a particular kind of garb in her work and leave it that way.
Do you wear a particular kind of garb,
Yes.
apparel? Has it got pants?
No. No. Oh, no.
I mean,
No, all right.
No.
That's 6 down and 4 to go.
No.
4 down and 6 to go. I'm not going to argue, Miss Francis.
Do you need particular training for your job?
No.
5 down and 5 to go, Mr. Moore.
I have no idea what she does, but I'd love to be there while she's doing it.
She keeps rushing
Continue,
down
Mr.
to the
Moore.
shore.
Just as if you
I
hadn't
either
said it.
stumble into something or I made a boo-boo, and I don't know which. I think I'm beginning to get a slight inkling now. The particular type of garb that you wear, is it somewhat less than fulsome? Is it a rather abbreviated costume that you wear?
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Just sometimes?
Well, let us
You mean
say
what I
most
thought
of the
you
time.
were?
We won't take an issue. Go ahead, Mr. Moore.
Is it in the field of entertainment?
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Furness.
I'm going to get back to the people involved again. Do you perform the service that you perform for women alone?
No.
Well, let's see. We're getting confused here on the issue. I think that substantially women are served by her services. Now, let's leave it that way. Women are substantially served by her services. Men are not.
Is there a product used in connection with your services?
Yes.
Did you require a special... Oh, that was asked,
That was
wasn't it,
asked,
about
yes.
the training?
Yes.
Do you work indoors?
Yes.
I'm up, Louis. You take it.
All right, Mr. Untermeyer.
is your work in any way thermal, therapeutic, anything to do with health in a way? Do you do anything to people physically?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Miss
That's too
Francis.
bad.
I'm only going to give you 1 more minute to get this.
Are you in a business of some kind?
Does she dispense her services in a business?
Yes.
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 Is the business one that is used by a lot of people? Was that decided on? Is this a
it's
business
very
that a lot of
specialized.
people would be interested in, or did we settle that it was specialized?
Well, her services are principally for women. Let us, in immediate contact, they're not necessarily great numbers, but perhaps greater numbers
Is
would
the
be
place
served.
she works a shop?
Well, in a very general sense.
Do you touch the people you deal with?
No.
8 down and 2 to go. I'm afraid we're going to have to call time up and give it to Miss Lella by default. She is a lingerie model.
Oh, well, heavens.
At Yolanda.
At Yolanda's Corporation here in New York. We
And
thought-
no pants.
Well, I didn't get into that
I don't model the pants.
Oh, well, lingerie, you know. One would think it was everything.
Yes, but no, just nightgowns and slips.
one. All right. Well, thanks very much for being our guest. You did very well with the prizes. We hope you enjoyed yourself. Thanks for being a guest. To Watch My Line. Good night. From Stop It. And now we come to the regular special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery celebrity. And since our experts over here would recognize our famous guest by sight, we have provided them with blindfolds for what is going to be a difficult test in the identification of a personality. So get the blinders on, if you will, please, panel. In this case, it's not so much what's my line as who is it? Challenge once again to the perceptive talents of the members of the panel. Are they all in place, the blindfolds? Nobody can see? Fine. Will you come in, mystery challenger, and sign in, please? And now will you come over here and sit down beside me? X, Y, and Z. That's very interesting. Now, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery celebrity, we dispense with the usual amenities, get right down to the general questioning. We'll begin that questioning with Mr. Untermeyer.
What was I doing? Are you in any way in a field of entertainment, loosely, always loosely, a loose field of entertainment?
Yes.
You are. Would it be a world in which you are some kind of a star?
Could be.
Could be. Sounds very indefinite. Have you ever been on television before tonight?
Yes.
You have been. You are, I assume, a male. That I get purely by intuition. Are you a very masculine, sort of a large-fisted male?
Well, yes.
Yes. Are you in the world of the theater?
Yes.
Good. You take it, Arlene.
One supposes then that you perform in the theater.
Yes.
Would one consider you an actor? Loosely?
Loosely.
Saved by the loosely. Go on, Miss Francis.
Judging from your voice, I might guess that you are maybe in the musical end of the theater.
Yes.
Do you use your voice in your work?
You want to say loosely again, Miss Francis?
Loosely? Oh, always.
What do you... I'll let you answer that yourself. You...
Oh, yes.
Yes. Do you, you sing then, perhaps, as part of your job?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Moore.
Have we ever met before? Well, speak to me.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
Have we met before professionally? In other words, have we worked together on shows?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Furness.
Do you play any? Do you do anything but use your own self in what you do? Are you a performer by yourself, or do you play an instrument? That's 4 questions, isn't it?
Yes, that's about...
Get 4 yes.
Do you work entirely by yourself?
No.
3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Untermeyer.
Do you work with more than one other person? That is, you're not a dance team. I mean, you yourself are not a dance team. You work with several people.
Yes.
Has it anything to do with music at all?
Yes.
Do you play an instrument? Well,
Well,
in a loose sort of way.
in a loose sort of
What was the answer, John?
Well, in a loose sort of way. I would say yes, but you mustn't be misled by it too much.
You are primarily an actor, is that right?
No.
No, that
Good,
would not
that's
be.
wrong.
4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
Well, if you are associated with music and you don't primarily use an instrument, do you lead perhaps an orchestra?
Yes.
Is it a very well-known orchestra? Some silly
What's he
question. In a
gonna say?
loose kind of way, yes. Is your music associated more with the dreamy type of dancing?
Yes.
Who are they all? The Wolf?
Guy
Guy Lombardo. That's it. Is it Guy Lombardo?
Well, that was wonderful. Thank you very much, Guy
And he
Lombardo,
does
for being our
sing
guest.
like a log.
He does sing like a lark. That's
We
right.
sat in each other's lap 2 days ago. Fine thing.
We will send a check
Who
for
played the
$50 to your favorite charity. And thanks
Well,
an
thank
awful
you very
lot for
much.
being our guest.
Thank
What's
you.
my line and a happy
Nice
New
to
Year
you.
to you.
Thank you.
Now we have time, I think, to just try a quick one more challenger. Will you sign in, please, sir? Nathan Turkinich, is that right? Where do you live, Mr. Turkinich?
Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. Well, time is very short, so will you just walk by the panel once and come right back and sit down with me?
Run
please?
by. It may give us
Run
an
by.
idea.
All right, Mr. Turkinich, right back here and sit down next to me, if you will. On the basis of your handwriting, what little you've said, how you said it, and that very quick look the panel's had at you, we're going to give them one wild guess as to what your line may be. Miss Furness.
I think he's a taxi driver being delighted he isn't going to have to make change starting tomorrow. I meant a bus driver.
Mr. Untermeyer.
No, he teaches abstract mathematics.
Miss Francis.
I think he strings tennis rackets.
Mr. Moore.
He sorts snow.
I'm afraid you're all wrong. Now we'll give our viewers at home a really close look at Mr. Turkinich. At the same time, we'll tell them what he does. The panel, you're going to have to dig for facts. You know all the rules. Ask questions to be answered yes or no. Each no answer costs the panel $5. We keep a record of it here. 10 no's and you've lost the game, and you have 2 minutes to find out what Mr. Turkinich does. One more bit of help. He is self-employed. With that, we'll begin the general questioning with Mr. Untermeyer.
You are self-employed. Do you make things, or do you produce things, package things?
No.
Well, it's very hard to say no to him. He makes things, produces things. Go on, Mr. Untermeyer.
You make things and produce things. These things that you make and produce, are they things that a girl would be lovely, glad to have at this time of year?
No. 1 down and 9 to go. Miss Francis.
Do you work in a shop of some kind that you use machinery?
Yes.
Did you have to have training to be able to do this? Came to you naturally?
No.
Didn't come to you naturally?
no special training,
No
but...
special training.
Well, he had to know something if he does handle
All right, you
machinery.
go ahead, Miss
Has
Francis.
some
You won
kind of
that
a
argument
craft.
hands down.
Do the things that you make, are they used in homes?
Yes.
Yes, some homes, huh?
Some.
Not very high-class homes.
No, nobody said that.
Yes. Are the things that you make a luxury item?
No.
Everybody has to have such a thing.
No,
No.
we'll call it basically a luxury item, I think. You go ahead, Miss Francis.
It is not a necessity, I mean.
That's
you
right.
don't have to have it.
That's right.
Do you work with your hands? On a machine?
No, he's self-employed, you see. I'm afraid we'll have to
Oh,
say
I thought
no
he
to
made
that.
it with his hands.
2 down and 8 to go, and time for about one question. Mr. Moore.
As a consumer, the consumers of this are a very specialized group.
No, we wouldn't say they're very specialized, and I'm afraid we're going to have to let Mr. Turkinich win by default. He is a manufacturer of seltzer. And thank you very much for being our guest in What's My Line, and you win the full
gonna be a big
Good
night for
sir.
you.
Obvious.
And now, in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you a preview look at one of the challenges whose line our panel will be asked to try and identify in our next program. And next week at this same time, our panel of experts will be asked, What's My Line, by this young lady. Would you know what her occupation is? Could you spot her line? Well, for the answer to this and other personality puzzles, be sure and tune in again Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, when once again Stopette invites you to play What's My Line. For other localities, check your newspaper for the date and the time of our weekly series. Until then, this is John Daly saying good night, Betty.
Happy New Year, Louis.
Good night, Arlene.
Good night, Gary.
Happy New Year to you, John.
And good night, ladies and gentlemen, and Happy New Year to you from all of us on What's My Line.
How lucky can one guy be?
It could be anyone from anywhere. They could make history because on one show, on one network, they all have a shot at winning millions. World Poker Tour is now on GSN. Premieres Monday, March 24th at 9/8 Central.